Superhero movies have been dominating the box office for nearly 2 decades, but in recent years, superhero movies have been earning way less than what they used to. There are a lot of reasons of why that is, like maybe there's an actor in the movie that makes people not want to support it, maybe the reviews are bad, etc. This has led to people wondering if this era for superhero films is finally ending. Sounds kinda dramatic, but I've been seeing this a lot on social media where people have been saying that the superhero fatigue has happened. So, why is this? Well, there are a few reasons, but I'm only going to talk about two of them, and that's woke media and the superhero fatigue. When it comes to woke media, it gets blamed for a lot of things, but I'm only going to talk about how it's impacted superhero movies. Now, when I say woke superhero movies, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking of the MCU and, well, yeah. Ever since 2020, the MCU has been including woke subjects into its storylines. Now, here's the thing. I don't mind woke movies. I respect them for what they're trying to do and what they're trying to say, but I'll be honest, sometimes I just want to watch a movie that just makes me forget about how the world sucks. And most of those movies that did that were superhero movies. And the reason for that is because you're watching these larger-than-life characters face struggles and challenges and then overcome them, and that's whether they're saving the world from robots, aliens, or monstrous humans. A good superhero always saves the day. And in a way, it makes you want to be like them. Nowadays, with Marvel movies, that escapism from reality has been slowly disappearing, and fans have not been happy with it. Now, here's the thing. Superhero movies have always included woke subjects, they just didn't overdo it. And it all really started when both Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy came out, because those movies really altered how superhero movies were being made. Rather than them just being flashy and over-exaggerated, both those movies showed how superhero movies can be more grounded and realistic. And since those movies were more successful being more realistic, this basically told Hollywood that people wanted more of that. But lately, they've been overdoing it, and fans are not on board with that. And I remember noticing this especially when Eternals was released and people were freaking out about it. Same when there were rumors about a black Superman and a black Batman to be cast. Oh man, did that enrage people. I think Marvel specifically thought that people wanted more woke subjects in their films when Avengers Endgame came out and it included some woke scenes and then went on to make $2 billion in the box office. When it comes to woke subjects, it's honestly very complicated to get right because there are a lot of things that can go wrong and turn out to be more offensive than it is inclusive. The other issue I wanted to talk about was this so-called superhero fatigue, which basically means that the interest of superhero films are decreasing. This has been happening for a while now, and the reason for that is because honestly, there is so many superhero content now that some people just want to watch other things. Now, part of this is because of the superhero fatigue, but also at the same time, it's because there's no motivation for them anymore. Like, for the MCU, all the movies before led to Avengers Endgame, which got people interested in it. But lately, it hasn't felt that way. It's felt more like they've been trying to rush as much content out as they can, and then trying to branch out into other things that they weren't a part of before. And then with allegations now, it doesn't even seem like they even know where to go from this point. And as much as I like the MCU, I have to admit that they are starting to feel the same to me. They're not as experimental as they were before, and then they're constantly ruining their own material by including too much humor. It's like they're trying to make each character a similar version of Tony Stark. And it's not just the MCU. DC has been trying to follow the same formula as well, but it hasn't worked. But the biggest problem with DC is that nobody knows where it's going anymore. When the Snyderverse was at its peak, I remember there being plans of a solo Batman movie with Ben Affleck, and then there being a Cyborg movie. So what already felt convoluted started feeling like, okay, maybe they actually know where they're going with this. Until they didn't. So many things started changing, and then too many studio interferences happened, and then projects started getting cancelled, and then there were scenes that led to nowhere. So what was already a mess became an even bigger mess. It's gotten so bad that if you try to explain to a non-DC fan what's going on in the universe, you'll get a headache trying to do so. And now with James Gunn and Peter Safran starting from scratch, everything that's coming out that has nothing to do with it doesn't even really matter anymore. It's that reason why a lot of people didn't even bother to go see Shazam 2 or The Flash. Because what's the point? So I don't think it's entirely superhero fatigue, but more that people are tired of trying to catch up only for it to lead to nothing. Side note, that's one of the biggest problems with superhero movies nowadays is that they're so busy trying to be a cinematic universe, trying to connect each movie to one another, and then trying to set up sequels and spin-offs that they just forget to be their own movie. I mentioned earlier that there's this specific formula that they're using for all these superhero movies. And honestly, I think they should try doing something else because the formula is starting to wear thin on people. Because moviegoers are starting to get tired of the cringy jokes,
That's America's ass.
the cheesy one-liners,
Eat my hammer!
and especially the heavy use of CGI. It's those reasons why a lot of people prefer The Boys instead of Marvel or DC, because that show is doing things that superhero content has never done before. And don't get me wrong, there are a few scenes where you can tell they're doing it for shock value and not because it has anything to do with the story, but the fact that people prefer that over that says a lot. I personally don't think that the era for superhero movies is over just yet, but I do think that they do need to evolve if they want to stay relevant. Cause come on Marvel, that's not okay. If you made it this far into the video, please consider subscribing and thanks for watching.